Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the August edition of the Niceville Valparaiso Chamber of Commerce Business Forum. We've got a great show for you this evening. We're going to start off with our breakfast sponsor, Superior Home Loans, Inc., and we have with us Bart Swan, their president. He's going to tell us a little bit about mortgages and how to shop for them. Bart, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dave. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, up front, I want to thank you for all you do in the community, and thank you very much for the breakfast. I apologize for missing it, but I had to go get married that day.
That's an acceptable excuse.
That's the only one,
yeah.
The only one that'll work. I know there's a lot of things that go on when folks are looking for mortgages, and it's one of the biggest investments, probably the biggest investment that they make in their lives. So tell me that you kind of have crafted 4 simple questions that people can use to help them when they're shopping for a mortgage. Is that?
Yeah. You know, it's interesting that a lot of people will almost call an 800 number and talk to somebody they don't even know to handle the biggest financial transaction of their life, whereas they wouldn't put their retirement savings or their retirement planning in the hands of somebody they didn't know or didn't feel like they could trust.
No.
Yet they'll put this large transaction into somebody else's hands.
They won't even run their bank usually over an 800 number.
Right. You're right.
Sure.
Right. So that's one of the things that we've developed is 4 questions that we encourage people to ask to find out what level of professionalism are they really dealing with this person on the other line of the phone or maybe on the other side of the desk.
So this is kind of a way that they can test the person they're talking to see if they're actually working with somebody that knows mortgages or just a call center that's taking phone calls and gathering information.
Absolutely.
Sure.
And the beauty is we give them 4 questions and we also tell them the answers. So they know if they're getting the right answer or not, and we encourage them if you find you're not getting the right answers, don't just walk away but run away. You don't want that person handling the largest transaction of your
And
life.
the first question is something that I've wondered about for many years. What are mortgage rates based on? Tell
That's a great question, Dave. Thank you for that. That's a perfect setup. Really, the mortgage interest rates are based on what's called mortgage-backed securities. A lot of people might think that they're based on 10-year bonds or treasury notes or something like that, but they're based on mortgage-backed securities. And if someone doesn't know the correct answer to that, then perhaps they're looking at the wrong indicators. Or even worse, maybe they're not even looking at indicators at all.
Sure. And so it's more market-driven than it is anything dictated by the federal government or anything like that. So
absolutely.
People get kind of confused about that because they expect the Fed's going to step in and make a change.
Right, that the government changes it and then it's good for a certain amount of time. So your point about market-driven is exactly correct. In fact, interest rates are changing all day long. So that even if you are shopping around, if you call somebody on Monday like we are today, and they end up calling somebody else on Tuesday and then somebody else on Wednesday, well, you're going to get different rates all the time.
As it should be, sure.
Yeah, as it should be, because the market is constantly changing. So if you are going to shop around, the most effective way to do that is to call everybody at the exact same time. Which can be quite a challenge.
A little bit of a challenge.
That's the only way you can really effectively do it.
So if we were looking for the next economic report or event that could cause interest rate movement, what exactly could that be?
Well, you know, one just came out this morning that was retail sales, and that is a big indicator of what's going to happen because it really kind of measures what's going on in the economy.
The health of the economy, sure.
Right. And then another one would be the consumer price index, and then the job market. That came out last week. So I don't want to get into specifics about what's coming up this week because I know this show is going to run for a while.
Sure,
but it's very important that your person know what's coming up so they know, is now an effective time to lock an interest rate or should we wait for this next number to come out? Also, what are we expecting is going to happen with that next number? Because
the market always has a feel for whether numbers are headed north or headed south, or and they'll talk about that.
Absolutely.
If you're informed and your mortgage broker is informed and
Right.
watching those things.
Absolutely. In fact, right now there are some people predicting that the Federal Reserve is going to cut interest rates in their September meeting. But even among they're projecting a 30% likelihood that they're actually going to come in with an emergency cut between now and September. And the last time they did that was September 13th of 2001, right after the World Trade Centers went down.
Sure.
So you're right. There are people predicting what's going to happen, and it's important that your mortgage professional know what's going on in the market.
And you mentioned the Fed, and it's not Greenspan anymore, it's Bernanke. Did I get that right? All right. You said that Bernanke and the Fed change rates. What does that mean to a mortgage Or somebody's shopping for a mortgage.
Right, right. You know, it was interesting. We had about 17 consecutive rate cuts over about a year and a half time span, and I would talk to people all the time that would come up to me and say, hey, I heard interest rates just went down. Interest rates just went down, or interest rates just went up, or whatever. And they figure that because Ben Bernanke or the Federal Reserve is changing the overnight funding rate, that that's going to affect long-term mortgage rates directly. And it doesn't, actually. In fact, a lot of times they work in the inverse direction. A lot of times when the interest, in fact, the 17 consecutive rate hikes that we've had, during that time, interest rates for mortgages have consecutively gone down. So it's kind of an inverse relationship. And the reason is because the Federal Reserve is coming out with their rate hikes to curb inflation. And that is good for mortgage rates because they're based on long-term securities. And as just about anybody would know, inflation is the arch enemy of a long-term security, be it a bond or whatever.
Absolutely.
So if investors feel like inflation is being kept under control, they're more willing to invest long-term, which puts more money in the market, which allows more money to be loaned out at lower rates.
At mortgage rates, sure, sure. And the fourth and final question that you want them to ask is, do you have access to real-time mortgage and bond data? How is that important?
That's very important because, as I mentioned earlier, mortgage rates are constantly changing throughout the day. So it's very important that your mortgage professional know what's going on at any given moment. In fact, we have in our office, if the people can bring up on the display, what is going on in the mortgage rates at any given time. And it's very important that your mortgage professional see that, because if something comes out, if an economic number comes out or something that changes things, we're going to see a dramatic change in interest rates within 20 minutes. And if your person is just looking at this morning's faxes, or if it's the next morning and they haven't received their faxes of their rates today and they're looking at yesterday's rates, you could be in for a little surprise.
So the point of all four of these questions is to find a person in the mortgage industry that understands the mortgage industry and understands how rates are going to affect you, the consumer.
Right,
That's ultimately
absolutely. Because, you know, in the last 5 years, we've seen the number of originators actually more than double. And many of those people don't have any real experience or real knowledge of what's really going on. Is that somebody you want to handle the largest transaction of your life?
Sure. We've got a few more seconds. Tell me a little bit about what the Hoff Institute is.
We call it the Hof Institute. It's for the Homeowners Financial Education Institute. It's a not-for-profit corporation based in Niceville of several professionals within the real estate and financial industries who've come together with the purpose to educate our community on home ownership and personal finance in an effort to create and enhance financial understanding and financial independence.
Sure.
And we do that through several different ways. We teach credit scoring and personal finance in the Okaloosa County high schools. We have classes at OWC campus where we have classes on different subjects. So like, for instance, this month is Funding Your Future. It's about how to plan for retirement and college expenses. Next month is estate planning, and the following month is tax planning. So we have these classes all the time.
So these are local classes that you're teaching?
Right. They're held primarily at Okaloosa Walton College, Niceville campus.
Well, tell folks, you got about 30 seconds left. Tell folks how they get a hold of Superior Home Loans and how do they get in touch with you if they're shopping for a mortgage.
All right, absolutely. We are based in Niceville, Florida, Superior Home Loans. Our website is www.superiorhomeloans.com, and the Hof Institute is www.hofinstitute.org.